This is a very good. This is exactly the sort of question I'm talking about, where people need to hear the answer to this. Everyone does. So give me a moment, please. In this day, the level of mental instability, distractions, etc., are the highest and worst they've ever been. For people who have endured severe levels of mental disturbances, is there any hope for mental and spiritual clarity in this life? Indeed. Indeed, the Kali Yuga. This is the Kali Yuga in 2024 specifically. And really, increasingly for the last several decades. We've seen that the mental health crisis, let's just say, that has occurred for so many decades and years now, but which seems to get worse and worse and worse every year, is probably the biggest crisis in the world right now. Is war a crisis? Oh, sure. But there have always been wars, very sadly, and war is always a crisis. Physical health, oh yeah, that's a crisis too, but people have always gotten physically ill. And I can use other examples. There are many crises in the world, economic, poverty, etc., etc. But at no time in human history has there been more internal suffering as there is today. Never. In the history of America, in the history of the world. There's never been a time like this, where more people have been suffering from depression, uncontrolled mind, indeed the things that are mentioned here, mental instability of every sort whatsoever, distractions, a mind that will not cooperate, etc., etc. Now people understand why I rail negatively, talking first about the negative, why I rail against those things that do nothing but contribute to the opposite of clarity of mind. Those are the things I rail against. So indeed, stop drinking alcohol. No. Stop drinking alcohol. Period. I don't care if you think it's a part of your culture. I don't care if you think it makes you relax. You'll be very relaxed in the morgue when you died because you drank and drove. No. Stop drinking all alcohol. It is a poison that kills you from the inside. It's like taking a little bit of poison each day. It's like drinking gasoline. Stop drugs. All drugs, including marijuana, weed, ganja, whatever little name you want to give to it to make it sound like an innocent, fun thing. It's destroying your mind. All drugs, period. Stop living in fantastical realms that make your mind mush. Video games, pornography. Stop. That's the negative. And I can go on. There are other things to add to the list. Positively, do those things that indeed strengthen the chitta, the mind substance. What does that mean? Oh, of course that means meditation. Oh, of course that means studying real philosophy. Indeed, it's interesting. People, in the last few hundred years, this is just an academic aside because I did it. I had to. I loved it, actually. Individuals who study philosophy also study logic and logical thinking. This is true in academia. Anyone who has a PhD in philosophy knows this, that, you have to take many logic courses. You need to learn how to think very logically, how to do propositional analysis. Those people who are in the analytic school of the Anglo-American School of Philosophy, they know what that term means, propositional analysis. For them, that is philosophy, i.e., you take a proposition, whatever that proposition is, a philosophical statement, and you analyze it to death using pure, rigid logic. Well, do that. Do what people used to do 50 years ago, before college classes became nonsense. Let's study the philosophy of Taylor Swift. That's a course. What is the philosophy of Taylor Swift? Take a course like that at Stanford. No, stop doing nonsense and train your mind. Truly train your mind to think in logical categories, in Kantian almost categories, really Nyaya categories, that is Vedic logic. Start to actually exercise your mind. You know how I tell people all the time, obviously we need to quote-unquote exercise ourselves spiritually. What does that mean? Sadhana. But also I tell people also physically, go to the gym, eat organic foods, become vegetarian, not vegan, vegetarian. get all the nutrients that you need, etc. Become healthy, healthy, healthy. Exercise your body. Well, also we have to exercise our intellect as well. If we have an uncontrolled mind, it's because we never tried, or at least very little, to control our mind. And is that our fault? If we're living as a denizen of 2024, is that 100% our fault if we have an uncontrolled mind? Not really. Not really. Everything around us in this demonic age is geared toward making sure that we lose control over our mind. Not necessarily that we become clinically insane, but that we give in to all of the lower needs of the body. That we give in to emotion, that we give in to lust, etc., etc. Everything around us tells us this, tells us this, tells us this. The culture celebrates the stupidest people in entertainment. All of who want to go on and talk about politics. Oh, I'm voting for so-and-so. If this person wins, I'm leaving the country. And that person has an IQ of 60 as a singer, as an actor. And probably because they killed their mind over the long term with drugs. So it's an amazing thing. Indeed, we can gain control over our mind, but we have to be serious. We have to understand, why is our mind out of control? Because the entire culture cultivates this, that we lose control over our minds. Well, let's become countercultural. You know, this was the cool thing when it was the 60s and the system wanted people to be hippies. Oh, let's be counterculture. Well, you know what? Let's be counterculture today. What does that mean? Live an intelligent life. Because the culture is telling you not to. The culture is telling you not to. Well, actually be counterculture. The culture is telling you God doesn't exist, God is of no importance. Embrace God. The culture tells you, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Be religious. I am religious and spiritual. You can be both. They feed each other. Don't you understand that? It's by practicing the religion that you become spiritual. It's by experiencing the spiritual that now religion has meaning. You be both. Both. Both without excuse. It means be strong in everything that you're doing. Again, be strong physically, no excuse. This is true for men and women. Men and women should go to the gym, should do yoga, should lift weights. But I'm sorry, again, I have to say this because men today have become fluffy, puffy little flowers. Especially if you're a man. Stop the excuses. Get to the gym. Become strong as much as possible. Do everything that you need to have complete control over your life. And what you will see is that you'll also have control over your mind as well. Now, getting to the overtly spiritual. Indeed, the way that we have control over our mind, what have we been speaking about with these 4 verses? Clarity of mind. Once you have control, you have clarity. If you have clarity, that helps you to have control. They feed each other. So indeed, by engaging in spiritual activities, by making sure that you meditate every day, by making sure that you steep yourself in spirituality. That means continuing to read as much as possible. That means pray, pray, pray. When you're praying, people don't know this. Praying is a science. Praying is a way, certainly, in which we communicate our desires, our wishes, our praise unto God, but it's also a mental discipline. This is why in the past people were capable, in many traditions, in Christianity, in Sanatana Dharma, people were capable of praying for an hour a day. An hour a day. And it is a mental discipline to get up in the morning and you say, all right, every day, it doesn't have to be an hour. Oh my Lord, make it 5 minutes. That would be a start. For 5 minutes, you sit there in silence and you pray to God, trying to be in your mind, or you can say it out loud, but in either way, being as eloquent as possible, thinking about what you want to say to God. You see, if you knew that you were going to meet a president or a prime minister, and you have 60 seconds to say something to that person very eloquently, such that the person will be impressed, would you not train yourself at first? Wouldn't you at first kind of think, oh, what do I want to say to this? This is my only chance. I'm going to meet the President of the United States. I'm going to meet the Prime Minister. Will you just, sadly as many fools would today, just kind of go up not thinking about a thing and whatever blubbers out of your mouth, well, that's it. Okay, well, thank you so much for meeting me. Goodbye. Or would you do the intelligent thing? Would you think beforehand? Prepare some thoughts, prepare some words, so that when you now have this opportunity, you speak in such a way that the person appreciates it. And that president will say, oh, your words have been very eloquent. It's given me food for thought. Thank you for sharing that with me. President, a prime minister, is irrelevant compared to God. And this is what helps us with mental discipline. When you pray to God, before you even pray, think first. Prepare to pray, and then pray. And construct within your mind those words that you want to say in accordance with what is your aim in communicating with God. Do you wish to simply praise God that day, which is the highest form of prayer? Or is there something that with all humility you do wish to ask for? It's fine to ask God for things. But think first. So again, by also praying, you're organizing the mind and having control over that mind. And I can go on and on and on with all the practical things that can be done. But indeed, very, very important question. And to sum up, the most important thing is the way that we indeed have stability, mental stability, the way that we rid ourselves of distractions, the way that we have serenity, that we have peace of mind, that we have clarity of mind, is by taking full practical shelter at the feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And that means that we meditate each day, and that way we control our minds, that we pray to God each day, and that way also we control our minds, and we discipline ourselves in everything that we think, that we say, and that we do. And the more disciplined we are, necessarily the more disciplined of a mind we will have as well. When we have a disciplined mind, more of a chance we'll have a disciplined body. When we have a disciplined body, more of a chance we'll have a disciplined mind. So thus taking this holistic approach, truly a holistic approach, we will have control over ourselves. Self-control, self-mastery, self-discipline. In such a way that we will have serenity, desires will not bother us, and all sorrow will leave us. To paraphrase what was said in the last verse. Good? All right. Evam bhavatu. May the victory of Dharma be so. And so it shall be. With that, everyone, I ask you all, between now and the next time that we get together, especially in this very interesting year of 2024 with increasing chaos that's guaranteed to increase exponentially for several more months at the very least, I ask you all to please take very good care of yourselves. And in the words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Ma Shuchaha. In every way, do not fear. Do not fear. Do not fear. For God wins in the end.